It's Tuesday, November 19th, 2019, and this is the Pro and the Con Show. My name is Michael James Ott. Welcome to the show. Doing these shows, try and encourage people to be better citizens, to at least be open to listening to opposing views, be focused on the who, the what, the where, and the when, which is only a tiny bit of a lot of the information channels that come into your home. Especially if they're like a 24 hours news channel kind of thing. A lot of them, a whole lot of bias, a whole lot of opinion, prognostication, nice big word there. And they're honestly, they're under no moral obligation. A lot of these sites, they're under no moral obligation whatsoever to actually tell you the truth. And it's important that you understand that. So I just want to focus on us, listening to each other and trying to focus on the facts, the who, the what, the where, and the when. So right now, for example, a lot of live testimony. In fact, right now, as I speak, I think they're just finishing up the testimony from a third day, I believe, in the impeachment hearings. And I don't really want to get into that on today's show, because that's going to go on for quite some time, and on the big picture, it's not really going to change too much. It's readily apparent, the summary of that whole situation is, it's readily apparent that Mr. Trump decided that he was going to try to put pressure on Ukraine's new president to publicly talk about investigating Mr. Biden and his son and this company that Mr. Biden's son, Hunter Biden, that's his name, Hunter Biden was working for, this Burisma, and come out with this that they're investigating all that associated with some kind of election corruption back in 2016. So the pressure was on, and how were they applying the pressure? By withholding almost $500 million worth of financial and military aid that Ukraine desperately needed to try to push off really one of our singular true enemies on this globe, that is the Russians. And it's not the Russian people, by the way, it's Mr. Putin and some of the oligarchs around him. The Russian people themselves, other than allowing Mr. Putin to be in power, they're again very often in these dictatorships or effective dictatorships. It's not really the people's fault so much as it is the leadership. And we can't really, unfortunately, at this point in time, we can't talk too much about that, because Mr. Trump likes to think of himself as a dictator. Who can just do whatever he wants to do. Anyway, so the impeachment trial, or not trial, but the investigation continues with some public hearings, and the outcome is going to be that yes, Mr. Trump definitely put pressure on the Ukrainian government by withholding almost $500 million worth of aid that was important to them, that had been approved by everyone else in government, and for the sole purpose of trying to ensure that he would be reelected in 2020. The Democrats are going to say that that's something that should be impeachable, I'm sure they'll come up with some other stuff, but that's going to be one of the main articles of impeachment for sure. The Republicans, who continue to support Mr. Trump, are going to say, oh, it's all a hoax, hocus pocus, and so they're going to vote for impeachment in the House because it's whatever 60% Democrat held, and they're going to vote against impeachment in the Senate because it is like 51% or 52% held by Republicans, and they're going to vote along party lines. And so that's what's going on, and everyone knows that's what's going on. And well, it's political stuff, and I'm not going to talk again today about this, two political party crap, which it's our fault. It's my fault. It's your fault. We're allowing this crap to happen. We only have two political parties. We shouldn't have any. And I'll talk in the future. I've looked at past shows, or please look at past shows where I talk about, um, getting rid of our two-party process and so on. But in today's show, so yesterday's show, and again, because the impeachment thing is going to continue on for quite some time, we still need to talk about the major issues that face us. And one of the major issues is around abortion. And I know that this is a highly, charged issue. And one of the things that is true about the highly charged issues in our lives is we have to take the time to talk to each other and listen to each other and get kind of a common ground of understanding. And so in yesterday's show, I talked about, how wherever you come from, wherever you've been raised, and how things have happened in your life, you might see things in a certain way, and maybe you see this coin from the side where you see a likeness of Eisenhower. Whereas me, because of where I was raised and how the experiences I've had, I see the side that has the eagle landing on the moon. Okay? And the truth is the whole coin. The truth is that pro and con, good and bad, for and against, those different perceptions are not wrong just because we have different experiences in arriving at them. In fact, that means that you probably have information I don't have. I have information you don't have. We need to sit and talk about that. And it takes time to do it. Doesn't fit on a bumper sticker. That's what we've got to do. So yesterday I talked about why there's the big debate over abortion, and it's balancing this thing about choice and women trying to have a choice over what happens to them. There isn't really a good analogy for men. Nothing that is real. You'd have to make something up, like, what if every fifth time a man had sex, maybe he would get pancreatic cancer or prostate cancer or something like that. I mean, there's nothing that's an equivalent to for men to understand what women face. Because if they get pregnant, they are on the hook. In our society, that's it. They're responsible for having a child and carrying that child and raising that child through the beginnings of adulthood. That's the expectation, and that's a huge, huge, huge commitment. So anyway, the factors that we argue about are these factors I call balancing the factors. And I'm just going to put this up, and you can hold that there. You can, pause this video sometime in the future. But basically, it's the choice over having sex or not having sex, and then having an abortion if you should become pregnant and you don't want to have a child. Or there's some kind of, and some abortions occur because there's medical issues involved. And so for the safety of the mother, an abortion is in the best interest because the child isn't going to live anyway. There's other issues going on, and some of them serious. So today we've got about just a few more minutes to talk, and I want to just cover the reasons why I found an article. It was actually a research paper, a reviewed research paper, and it talks about the reasons why women provide for why they think they need to have an abortion. And basically, it comes into, there's a few categories. So generally, there's a financial thing where they are worried that they can't afford to have a child and carry it forward. There's also concerns over, the relationship with whoever they're with, and also the relationship with society and their family. So there's kind of this what is happening, especially when it's again, we have these traditions, if you will, that people think of people poorly because they get pregnant out of wedlock or whatever, or maybe they're a teenager, or who knows. But so there's this stigma, this social thing that's part of it, and whether that's with whoever you're with in your relationship, or your family, or your friends, or the community. Then there's health-related issues, and then basically it's like a lack of maturity, or the feeling that they can't adequately be a good parent for a child. So those are the kinds of things, and there's 13 reasons here. I'm just going to read them off, but they end up in those categories. So financial, timing, which gets into, you know, basically financial kinds of stuff again, and or social. Partner concerns, focus on other children, disruptive to future plans, not prepared for parenthood, health-related issues, can't provide for the baby, lack of maturity or independence, influence by family and friends, and they don't want the baby, or they don't want to give up a baby for adoption. So those are the reasons that women, according to this paper, give for why they might want to have an abortion. So this is, like I say, part 2. We're going to have part 3 and part 4, where we talk about reasons why they shouldn't have an abortion in part 3. And then we're going to talk about maybe what's a good solution where everyone can have, you know, kind of what they're trying to get at without standing on opposite sides of the street and throwing bricks at each other. You know, and fundamentally, so hint, here's kind of a precursor or preview. Fundamentally, everyone understands that human life is very valuable, and no one wants to, interfere with a healthy human person. And but there's these issues that women face, and again, that this is something that women really have to be the main people to kind of decide what they should do with this issue. But I'm talking about it anyway because we need to talk on a community scale, on a personal scale, on a social scale, on a species scale. But anyway, so the people that right now are like, they're massively pro-life and stuff. Well, they've been conditioned that way. And, people say, oh, these people, they just want to have, kill babies, indiscriminately, blah, 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 blah. Whereas the people, on the other side is like, hey, you have to have, some choice. Women have to have the ability to have an abortion. It has to be safe and it has to be affordable and stuff if they need one. And, there can't be some kind of thing in between. Well, everyone agrees that generally abortions mostly are not a good thing. So people should try to, that should be something that should be avoided. So how can we come up with a way where we can get together where it's still safe, legal, and affordable, but rare? Okay. How do we do that? And there is a way to do that, I'm convinced. And in part 4, we'll talk about that. So part 3 is why there shouldn't be abortions. In part 4, we'll actually talk about a way to stop throwing bricks at each other from opposite sides of the street. Step into the center of the street and say, okay, here's what we can do where everyone can be in a good way. All right, so for Tuesday, November 19th, this is the Pro and Con Show. My name is Michael James Ott. Until the next show, bye for now.